shows that Myerscough is just about winning. We're a winning program, and that's what we want to do. We want to win, no matter what it takes.
So our mindset is we need to get after them straight away.
We're aiming to be a championship team. We're aiming to be the very top. This isn't now about us participating. This is about us winning. Get used to winning, guys.
Myerscough free, 1, 2, 3.
Myerscough! Yeah!
Welcome back in for episode 44 of Scough the podcast. We have another great episode coming up. Not to, sneak in the first pun right there already. It happened so many times when I spoke to Great, to be honest, that I lost count and I was like, this is terrible. But first, I'm going to be joined again by Myerscough head of basketball, Neil Hopkins, who is going to speak a little bit. We're just going to preface this about Great and, just what a great move this is for him.
You've done it again. And I will say this as well, like if there's a drinking game or anything that can be played, every time that we say Great's name that is not in the context of Great's name, we can't describe Great as Great. So this has been a constant thing through all the social media over the last 3 years with Great being over in the States. You've got to find other superlatives to describe him by. So yeah, here we are.
Phenomenal. But yeah, just first off, obviously, another guy who's come through the academy that has, furthered his career path in basketball and academics through the power of basketball. So just kind of talk to me about what it means to see another alumni reaching those heights of at a D1 program.
Well, I mean, this one's special, as we've talked obviously about how special, the Amari is and the guys that have come before, but this is a bit of a game changer just in terms of some of the facts and the figures and this, that, and the other. And I think that's something that has obviously alerted a lot of people. I know that over there in the States, it was like third post on ESPN, and obviously social media really went off, on kind of what's going on. And it's, I will say this to start with, it's amazing for Great and his family. And you've got to ride the bubble and ride the wave. And it's just incredible, in terms of what has happened. It's life-changing, and obviously we play the small part, we play that small part. It's great to be able to reflect on that. Actually, before we even get into it, there's a lot of people that have paid, their kind of homage, I guess, to Great as well over the years. And I want to give like a real big shout out to Chris Mellor over at Bradford Dragons. Without Chris, this wouldn't have gone the way it has. And I'm sure Great would have got to the point that he is. Let's not, beat around the bush, because he's that talented. But without Chris and his mentorship to Great, and I know that Chris opened the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning throughout the summers, and Chris has always been there for Great and for the Bradford boys. Zion Tordoff is another prime example of someone that's been supported by Chris over there at Bradford. I know there's been a lot of other clubs that have had an impact on Great and what he's done. So I wanted to say, that. And actually, if you think back to the time that Great was with us, obviously it was disrupted massively by COVID. And during that period, Great was able to go back over there and play for Bradford Dragons in Division 1. And, that was something that really kept Great at the forefront of people's minds during a really tough period, for recruitment in particular. So, before we get into the Myerscough stuff, I just wanted to really, put that on record. Thank Chris, the guys over there at Bradford. Chris is certainly someone that likes to, he operates, very privately, and he doesn't like the limelight. But, if just we could give him a couple of minutes, I think that's really important. So yeah, before we even get into it, that's that. I just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah, well, and Great touches on it in his own little section about Chris and the influence of the Bradford Dragons. And he obviously mentions, the likes of Mate, Zion, and all the guys that, he was with, at the Bradford program, as a junior, and saw them kind of coming through the ranks. And obviously he gives a huge shout out to Chris. You are head of the Northwest Aspire program. So how important, from your standpoint, is it to see, before they even come to Myerscough that, these junior programs at the, under 12, under 14, under 16 level are thriving, so that, when they do come to Myerscough, if that's their decision, or if they go to another academy, that they are, prepared for that. How important is it that, we see these junior programs thriving up in the Northwest?
Yeah, like the North, the whole of England. This is the fundamental aspect of any sport, and we have a big challenge within the UK with basketball and its structure and its organisation. Obviously, a lot has been talked about of the funding, but from my role, obviously as a regional talent manager for the North, which is something obviously separate to Myerscough, I wanted to be. This is a different conversation. I wanted to be part of the solution for British basketball, not be one of those people that just wants to talk about the problems. And I would say this now, having gone through what I've gone through the last 18 months, I'm more of that mind now. If you have the problems, will always be there, but please be part of the solution. And that was the reason why I took that role on. And actually being able to see the network across the North, which is obviously the area that I manage, has been fantastic. Obviously, the last weekend we had an interregional tournament for what we classify as like our developmental players within the Aspire pathway. And it was amazing to see 170 kids come together and be able to compete against each other. And that was something that Amari, Great, Mate, these guys that came before them were able to access. So to have that point of contact, have that point of participation is exactly what we need. And I wish that British basketball was able to sustain people more financially, the coaches, the infrastructure. I wish that there was more opportunity for coaches to be able to, make a living out of this. Obviously, at this point in time, a lot of people work based on goodwill. It's a lot of voluntary hours to help people like Great achieve what they need to achieve through our system, and throughout the clubs. So hopefully one day, maybe that kind of changes. But if I take our development model, if you added money to it, it will be unbelievable. And the reason why I say that is because it's already pretty darn good based on volunteering, based on people having to make huge adjustments to be able to run it, based on people spinning so many different plates whilst maintaining their full-time job, their family commitments, and committing time to the game. So we're doing pretty good, I think, to produce what we're producing through the pathway with very, very limited resources. And like I said, when people really focus on the solution to this and not the problems and want to be part of the solution, we will move forward. But when we get the investment, the jump will be huge. And you only have to look across onto the continent, into France and places like that, to see kind of what they're producing. Our demographic in the UK isn't massively different, but obviously our infrastructure is. So yeah, obviously that's another political question. But I have a huge amount of time, respect for the people that put in the hours. I've been through that. This is my 10th year at the academy. I don't know what year this is coaching now. I don't count like that, but I've paid my dues. And that's something that I respect, those that are putting the effort and the time in to give these young people the opportunity. And I just wish that we were better able to support them, and that's hopefully something that I can continue to do within my role as the RTM. It's not about money. That for me, it's about giving back and being part of a wider solution to help grow the game.
Yeah, and I guess just to finish on that, you're someone who gives coaches the ability to come into the academy and work, with a really impressionable age range from, 16 to 19, 20, to have guys like, a Lewis Scott come in. You've given Troy, I had him on the podcast last week, but you've given coaches, real opportunity to be, hands-on with, what they do within the program, within their team, to, hopefully put their own mark in. How important is it for you to, and not only just you, but, people in positions, that have had success, to continue to give back to coaches that are looking to get into the program? Because it's obviously it's a tough profession to break into, obviously with the limited resources, but to have the experience and to be able to then use that experience to hopefully build a career out of that, how
Yeah,
important is it for you to do?
Yeah, and on the flip side, a place like Myerscough is obviously it's quite important for the basketball economy because in reality, yes, we do our teaching alongside our coaching, and there's other roles and responsibilities that we have whilst we're working there. But actually, you've got 5, 6, 7 full-time coaches that are able to generate money from basketball. And it's not hourly paid money. It's a salary that can help with buying a house and having a family and security and yes, the model is very different in Europe because there's a lot more pressure on results. Coaches will move around a lot more, but actually, with what we have in the UK, having places like Myerscough and the academy structure, that is creating this basketball economy to allow people to coach whilst earning enough money to live and have a good life. So yeah, it's really important to start with because we want to have those opportunities. When I was a young coach, I didn't have the opportunity. I had to create that opportunity through Myerscough, and that wasn't something that happened overnight. And obviously, you see now with the amount of academies that you have in the UK, there is that economy. Obviously, that's great, but then there's this next tier of it where it's about performance. And again, the EABL has been, historically has been built around performance and structuring it. So there is, levels to the game, I guess. But again, from my perspective at Myerscough and having the staff that we have, one thing that frustrates me is that not more people, young coaches in particular, those that are at the universities and like regionally local to us, they don't call us up and say, "Can I come and do some observe you coach? Can I come and see?" It's an amazing tool or asset that people can access, even if it's to get access to a player like Great, to see them move, to see how they're working, etc. Or the other guys that we have obviously within the program at this point. So what that frustrates me that more people don't access them, but actually being able to give the coaches that we have the highest possible opportunity within the constraints of British basketball is important, and having that economy has allowed us to punch through some of those constraints, play in Europe regularly, have access to players, because we're a residential academy, so we then can do stuff in the mornings, evenings, so that obviously increases the volume of coaching that a coach will be able to do. Obviously, the facilities impact what you're able to do as well. So we're really, really fortunate. And I think that jobs at Myerscough, honestly, are some of the best basketball jobs within the UK. I categorically will say that. And I'm really proud that we've been able to create that opportunity for coaches to come in and do it. The big thing then is making sure that you use that platform as a coach to push and elevate yourself, and that you don't just go on, this isn't a subliminal shot, or it always is a little bit of a subliminal shot. You've got to use the platform to really, to push yourself to the next level. And I think you've seen that through our staff over the last few years because, just from a national team perspective, every one of our staff is involved with the talent pathway at a certain level, which means that they're taking what they're doing within our walls and applying that into the wider basketball, society, which is exactly what an England development program, which is what we are, should be doing.
Yeah. And speaking of, kind of transitioning now into Great, and we talk about life-changing money, just give me your initial thoughts when the news breaks that, obviously we look at NIL and things like that. It's not anything that I've spoken to him with because it's not our business, but just your thoughts on, the immediate reaction to the fact that, he is through the power of basketball and, just been able to market himself to a number that is astronomical with regards to, life-changing money.
Yeah, I was actually, I hadn't spoken to Great. I think he tried to call me on a Friday before it all came about. And one of the boys in the class I was teaching, one of the boys went, so I heard one go, 2 million. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? They're like, the deal, the Great. And I was like, wow. Obviously you're kind of just like, wow, because this whole nil thing is so new and grey and and I said to Mike Bernard, you got to look back at this historically, Mike, because back in the day, obviously you didn't receive this NIL. I said there's got to be a pot there that you can tap into. And you can imagine, can't you, like how a lot of the not so much. Well, obviously Mike's an old timer. I'm only joking, Mike, but the players, that have come through before this generation must be looking at it and going, wow. I think I read a statistic that based on this is great. So based on the figure that people will be aware of, he would be potentially the 31st highest paid player if he was in the draft, if he was drafted in the NBA. So we know that the economy in the US with regard to the NCAA is changing, and you have to look at Caitlin Clark and this, that, and the other. Obviously, it's about time that the players were able to receive something for what they do for the NCAA brand and these the colleges and stuff. So yeah, amazing. It was documented in a couple of press releases about Great's family, and the history. And I spoke to his dad the other day and sent him a message and just said, "You must be so proud. We're incredibly proud." And I said to Great as well, I bet his dad now is, he was always the king of Bradford anyway, but now I can imagine that he's walking around with chest out and he's pumped up, and rightly so. Everything's been handled, amazingly. If you think about it, the outcome for this is incredible for Great, for his family. We can't speak any highly of what has happened. Now the pressure is on Great, obviously, to deliver, but irrespective of what happens over the next 12 months, Great's life has changed, and it's changed positively. His family's life has changed positively. They have opportunities and stuff now that they didn't have before, which is amazing. And that is through Great and his commitment to basketball and the pathway and his talent and what he has become. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and only Great really knows how difficult of a decision it was, having gone through all the the recruitment trips. He's landing in an environment that is going to be familiar to him, obviously in a different place, but coaching staff, minus Chris Haslam, is going to be closely similar to what he had or has had over the last first 3 years of his career. How important do you think that is for him to now be transitioning into environment with all the things outside, but for him now to just focus on basketball in an environment that he is, accustomed to being into with Coach Sprinkle?
Let's just start on the Chris Haslam point, because I'm sure Great has talked about Chris in his part. Chris is so instrumental in all of this. His nurturing, again, the mentorship, the understanding of Great, the diligence of the recruitment process, building a relationship with us as a staff. Obviously, I've known Chris for a number of years. He's had a couple of our players definitely in the past, and he's helped countless others. So Chris really gets it. And well, the results speak for themselves. Jabril Bello is obviously one of Chris's protégés as well. Great is one of Chris's protégés, and Chris has kept it on the absolute, number one, the most professional level with Great the whole time round. But throughout everything, he's been the father figure to Great, and Great has needed that. And without that comfort and that security of having Chris with him, I don't think Great would have had the success that he has, which is amazing. And again, with success, and anyone that achieves success or high level of success, it's all about the people that are around you and how they support you and how they develop you, mentor you, and give you those life lessons. And Chris Haslam has been unbelievable to Great. And obviously, it's sad to see them not, being able to carry that journey together. But I know that Great's relationship with Coach Sprinkle is phenomenal. He obviously wouldn't follow Coach Sprinkle to Utah and then on again to Washington if it wasn't. It's really important, I think, and I always say this to the boys when they're looking for the next step. It's not necessarily about the bright lights. It's not necessarily about the money. It's really about the people that you're going to and entrusting them with your development and to do the right thing by you. And obviously, it speaks for itself. I think that Great was always going to be in a good position with the NIL because of the situation with Washington. Them obviously coming out of the original conference, moving conference, having a new coach in, wanting to have a push. So it's just perfect timing for Great. But also, Coach Sprinkle has to see the value in Great to be able to command that amount of money. And I know that Great would have been the first name on Coach Sprinkle's list. So yeah, the journey continues for them both. But like I said, having that support, having that person that believes in you, irrespective of everything else, is the most fundamental thing. And Great has that. He's always had that through the staff prior to coming to us, like we talked about with Chris, with us at Myerscough for that snapshot, with Chris Haslam, with Coach Sprinkle. And I really think that that's a key for Great and his success, because these people really understand Great and have been able to do what is right by him.
Absolutely. And you have to think, he is someone that has a lot of talent already. When he came to Myerscough, what were the things that you were pinpointing that he might have needed to work on to ensure he got to this level? Obviously, he has all the talent in the world, and he's someone that's confident and wants to push himself. But from a coaching standpoint, what were the things that you guys were on him about to ensure that he maximized that potential?
We'd obviously had a chance to see Great before he came to Myerscough, and I'd spoken to a number of coaches across Yorkshire that had seen him, and he'd been putting up incredible numbers in the junior national leagues and going to games and having 60, 70. I believe he might have had 80, once, I'm pretty sure, but he was scoring 95% of the team's points. He hadn't at that point he wasn't playing at the highest point within his age group, as in Premier stuff consistently, but everything that he was doing obviously was really focused on him because he was such a dominant force. And obviously he was already quite big when he came to us at 16, 17 anyway. I think that we knew that his touch, obviously number one with Great is he's quite, he's big. He's a big human. His wingspan is 7'8", I believe, unless it's got bigger. His hands are bigger than Mike Bernard's, and obviously Mike Bernard is quite a big human. So already he's got this, this stuff going on here that's, you look at it and you're like, wow, he turned up and we always look at the size of the feet and stuff. And we're like, wow, he's got, I don't know, he was he's putting Mike to shame straight away. And obviously if Mike's our leveling stick for size and this, that, and the other, then, already we're like, okay, he's got a lot of stuff here to work with. You could see that his body needed a lot of conditioning. Just the wear and tear, the general stuff that you get with basketball, you could see that he was going to grow into it a lot more. He was still fairly, he's still going through maturation and stuff. So you could see that he had a definition on his arms and his legs and stuff. So you knew that that was going to come. But actually from a skill perspective, his touch, his feel, his read, his ability to handle with both hands, his mid-range game, everything in the block, he had that hard-nosed, already he was already hard-nosed. He would get in the post and bang with the guys. We talked the other day about the environment that was created with that team. So when he came in, he had, again, the likes of Amari, Sami Fajana, Sam Chigbo, obviously Franklin. So he had these bangers already to go against. And actually, it really worked well for Great, because then it allowed him to come to the outside a little bit more, because you had guys that were a little bit more interior, interior dominant, I would guess, or would be a bit more interior focused. So then you had this ability to play him in the face-up game, in the post, mid-range, running off screens. We'd have him at the top of the press. So he could play across all the positions. And that's something that he'd done prior to coming to us as well. So he had this, he was like, at that point, he was a jack of all trades, but obviously hadn't mastered one. And actually, as you've seen over the last couple of years, his evolution, that low post game, playing off the block, ducking in, sealing, he's become one of the best in college basketball at that. And again, because of his length and size, he can score around a player like Zach Edey, because he's already got it. He's got the technical ability, he's got that size, length, and he's got the nuance to be able to do it. So yeah, it was really good. And actually, what you've seen over the course of the last 3 years, I've just got his numbers here. Like for instance, the first year at Montana, averages 6-4, goes to 10-5, and then this last year, obviously, he averages 17-9. And I always said to Chris Haslam, I was like, things were great is when he's settled and he starts to feel that someone really believes in him, his output gets better and better and better and better. So I really think that he's still got so much room to grow. I spoke to Amari about him the other day, actually, because Amari and Great have been working out They've been working out in New Jersey. And he said, great. He said, he's massive.
That's what he said to me. He was like, he couldn't believe. He always knew he was big, but like and obviously watching on TV, you can sort of see it, but like until he saw him, he said the same exact thing to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we knew it was going to happen. We knew he was going to get there, really quickly. And I'm just excited to see him play. Excited to see him push forward.
I guess speaking on Great and continuing to Great, obviously everyone can see what kind of a player he is, having watched him. He's someone that's commanded a lot of interest on, social media, just about where he was going to go. When it comes to, University of Washington fans, who have a great basketball history, and we have to think of all the players that have, come from that program and have had pro careers. What can they expect, from him, just based on the kind of person that he is? What does Great bring to a program that we might not see, like, or they might not see on the day to day, but they should be excited about?
Yeah, go on to Twitter and type in Great Osobor, and you'll get a plethora of highlights and clips and the scouting report and this, that, and the other. So I almost feel redundant in answering this question because he's been such a focal point. Obviously, Mountain West Player of the Year, someone that's, like I said, averaged 17 and 9. He beat out huge competition to be Mountain West Player of the Year as well. So he's tried, he's tested. The numbers speak for itself, on every level. So from a basketball perspective, you probably already know, a highly skilled guy that can do a lot of everything, and hopefully he becomes someone that is able to make the next step after this year. And obviously everyone will keep a very, very close eye on that. In terms of Great, the person, Great is someone that is supremely confident. He isn't going to be knocked off course by the hype that has been around him. He's someone that completely embraces that. Obviously, he's going to want to come in there and be the focal point within the system. And I think, as you've seen over the last couple of years, Great has been able to play behind players. For instance, Jabril, he has built amazing chemistry with the teams, or within the teams that he's been in, the last couple of years. Obviously, he's gone to the NCAA tournament. So he's someone that is just successful. He encourages success. He demands success. He's a competitive guy. And I think that you've got someone that is proven, and really it's just about taking him to the next level, and obviously putting Washington, well and truly smack bang in people's faces. So yeah, I'm excited to do that. But I think it's one of those, isn't it? I'm always like, it's like teaching someone how to suck eggs. Everybody already knows what they're getting with Great, and that's again testament to his confidence, his personality. Like I said, he is someone that has a huge personality. And again, I talked about it with Amari's podcast. Great is still in a huge amount of contact with the guys that he was with through his time at Myerscough, and I think that's so valuable in terms of looking at someone and how their feet are on the ground. And I just think that Great's room for growth is still so big. I just don't think we've seen the start of it yet. I just can't wait to see how this develops.
Yeah, and I got to ask you on this one. He is someone I think that gets it in terms of, he was a freshman at one point. He was the first guy or first year at the academy. I asked him about it. Dan when he went on his visit, he was actually with, Great, and you told him to go easy on him, but push him to see what Dan could do. Do you remember that conversation? And how, for a guy like Great to understand that at some point he's going to be the guy that the younger players are looking at, how important do you think it is for, guys to have someone like a Great or an Amari or a Mate or some of the guys like that have come over, to the States or done anything inside of basketball, outside of basketball, to see that there is a pathway, through the academy to where they want to get to?
Yeah, and everybody has their stories, like you said. Great coming in, just go easy on him. I think obviously we'd seen the potential, we wanted to bring him in, so it wasn't a case of crushing him before he started. But Great was still he was still very new to the idea of moving away, and he was still quite young at that point. and we needed to make sure that he felt the support around him. And again, like I've got some pictures. I said that, I said it to him the other day. I've got some pictures of him, being a big kid, and that's exactly what we wanted to see. And I think that year that he came in as well. Again, I remember the first EYBL trip. And you were there actually, and he was playing obviously behind Amari Franklin at that point, and he didn't play a lot of minutes in the first couple of games. And in the final game, we gave him good minutes because we felt that he was ready to just have a good taste with it and have a go. He'd never played at that point, at that level by that point, and he came in and had cut. I remember him scoring up and under. He broke the guy down from mid-range, his little crossover that he likes to go, was able to use his length and size to finish around him and did some great job, great work on defense, walled a couple of guys up, played really hard. And that was, again, like a really important point for Great to realize, actually, I can keep going with it. And that's something that's followed with him. You can tell that for his production over the last couple of years as well. He's, from 6 points averaging to 17 in our first year. Obviously, he was a big factor, but you could see when he transitioned to the second year, had COVID not hit us the way it did, that group wins the EABL comfortably, as would the group that he was with the year before with Amari, Bradley, etc. That when we got got cut the night before the game got cancelled, that group wins it. Great took the mantle and was the guy on that second year team, and then actually became the guy over there at Bradford. So. And it wasn't like that initially. That was steps. That was him developing his personality and his work ethic and figuring things out. So yeah, it's never what you see now is the result of ups, downs, highs, lows, hard work, getting told off, a lot of suicide and sprints, a lot of reps, hearing what you don't want to hear, hearing what you do want to hear. This is all part of the process. And now we're in year 4 of Great's collegiate career, and he's bounced around. He's moved with Coach Sprinkle, and it was never a point that he wasn't ever committed, but he found a lot of comfort with the coaching staff, and the coaching staff are the reason why he's developed the way he has. So why would you not go with them? So yeah, Great. As I said before, he will keep getting better. He will keep going, and we saw that in the 2 years that we had him, and now we've seen it over the last 3 years. And now we're starting to get into that stratosphere where it's like, right, well, the next step is really very significant. However, he's taken that, again, based on the numbers and this, that, and the other. Look at what he has become. And I know that I spoke to Brian at Camu the other day, for instance, and I said, look, your support over the last few years, you must be really proud of him, of Great, because again, Great has needed guys like Brian, Zeki, Pedro, Franklin. He's needed those guys around him to be able to feel comfort and bounce ideas off them and ask them the questions. And it's all been part of the package and part of the process for Great. So yeah, I'm really, really so thrilled for him, so happy, and it's going to be exciting.
So I got one more for you. I spoke to Great about it, and when I asked him, he said, Myerscough was the best decision he made, in terms of his development, in terms of everything. For you to hear players say that about a program, whether they stay in basketball or they move on to something else, but to have players say that about a program that, you helped build or that you built, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so number one, obviously celebrating the success of someone is almost like the holy grail of all of this. It's nice, and I always say it to the guys, like when they leave, in a few years' time, you look back and go, these were the best years, because we know that, there's no pressure. They can enjoy their passion, and they can get a really good balance. And obviously, when I hear stuff like that, it makes me feel extremely proud of the work that we're all able to do to be able to support them, achieve their goals and obviously become better people. I had a meeting yesterday with one of our current students who has come to Myerscough and has made a lot of changes and adjustment in his life to come to Myerscough and faces a lot of challenges and adversity. And he came with his mum to have a meeting about his progress. And he said, it was the best decision that he's ever made. And his mum became quite tearful because obviously she can see the joy that's in his face when he's saying that. And, I don't think, and his name is Tom, I don't think Tom's going to become an NBA player, and probably isn't going to have the same conversations that Great's had, but I can see that he's starting to establish what his goals are going to be, and he's just enjoying everything that he's doing. And that is one of the most important things in life. If you want happiness is part of, enjoying what you're doing and feeling fulfilled. So it's amazing to hear that. And but I'm not surprised in a way as well, because the guys are surrounded by their teammates, their friends. Again, like I said, there's not a lot of pressure. They can really dial in and enjoy basketball and enjoy the time that they're with us. And it's a great environment for that, and very supportive and nurturing environment. So yeah, it's obviously changes the course of a lot of people's lives coming into Myerscough and gives them better direction. And I think Troy alluded to some of that stuff within his podcast as well. So give that one a listen. But yeah, it's obviously from my perspective, and I think I said this in the podcast that we had before, your legacy in life, in my mind, having time to reflect on this, is with your children. Obviously, that's the primary legacy. But being able to coach and influence other people's lives, that's part of your legacy as well. And it's a huge part within sport. So to hear that is always, really, really rewarding.
Well, I think this was a great conversation. I'm gonna go have another conversation with Great. So I think we get over to Great. So you introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Great, for me.
Well, what can I say about this guy? Like I said, Twitter, Great Osobor. That's all you need to see, all you need to know. Like you said, a living legend, one of the greatest to ever do it. Here he is, the main man himself.
This is a battle. You have to be ready to battle.
Hey, let's go,
40
man.
minutes.
That's it.
Let's go.
That's it. Let's go. Hey, let's go, man. Let's go. 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
I am now joined. It's been a while, Great, since we've been able to catch up. Obviously, the last time probably would have been when you were still at the wonderful Myerscough. So, times have changed since then. Bring me up to speed on maybe the last 2 weeks. What's it been like?
Hold on, son.
Yeah, you good?
Oh, it's been an eventful week, month, 2, 3 weeks. A lot's been going on,
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out the next step in my college career and stuff. But I'm glad I finally got that sorted, to be honest.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, in a video before, like the portal's crazy. And, between Montana State and Utah State, it was fairly simple with regards to, it's pretty clear that you're going to be following, Coach Sprinkle to Utah State. This time around is a little bit different. You took the visits. It was a little bit more public. For you,
Yeah.
what's it been like, kind of being seen, differently, having come off such an incredible year on the court?
It's crazy because obviously you guys are Myerscough, but like coming out of high school, I had 2 offers, I think. I had Drexel and Montana State. And obviously I was trying to come to America to play, and for a while I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go JUCO or maybe hopefully go D2 and then go to Division 1. But looking back at the way how this process went around this time, it was kind of crazy. Like all the schools that showed interest, I'm really grateful and blessed that a lot of schools wanted me to play for them, and the decision was super hard. Like the final schools, I was like all over the place. I didn't know what I was gonna do until like that last couple of hours, like, because there was 2, 3 schools that I really wanted to go to. Like if I could split myself in 3, I would have sent one of grade to each school.
And it just must have been kind of crazy. Like, you talk about coming out of high school, coming out of Myerscough, and, you had the 2 offers from
Yeah.
programs that, pretty reputable. Drexel's had, on the up with Mate and Amari being there. Obviously Montana State's been great the last handful of years, as you've been a part of, those teams. But now you've got like the attention, the social media is there, like fans are, messaging you. I'm sure you and, Amari had seen the like 2 pictures you you guys photoshopped with the Kentucky stuff on. But for you, how different was it kind of seeing, you know, now fans know who you are. It's from these respective fan bases that are trying to recruit you at that time. Is it different? Has that changed your mindset, and or you just have to like block it all out?
No, it's obviously it's different because like you see like obviously when I started Kentucky, I was blessed like Kentucky recruited me for a little bit, and like the love that Big Blue Nation was showing was insane. Like I don't want to say crazy, but they're like nuts over basketball over there. So that was eye opening in a sense. And me and Amari still talk like we spoke yesterday, and I was like, yeah, that's crazy. Anyways, like I'm really happy that Amari ended up in that situation and he's gonna get to experience that. But obviously all the fan bases that were involved, like Louisville, Texas Tech, all of them, like they showed a lot of love. Even Utah State, like people think it was easy. Utah State, their fan base, I put it up there with anyone in the country. Like the love that they show, it's nuts, and like their fan base and support base is top tier at Utah State. But obviously, like the final decision, I obviously I went to Washington, and that's the Washington program is really historic. Like there's a lot of really good players that have played in the NBA that came from Washington, and then even the fan base is ridiculous. Like people say it's a football school, but the love that I've been getting shown through the basketball community and the school has been amazing.
Yeah, and we'll get on to it because obviously Danny Sprinkle's been such a huge part of your journey, as is
Mm-hmm.
Chris Haslam. But in terms of, you know, now Washington is moving into the Big Ten. Obviously that's got to be a huge, just like awesome for you to know some of the guys that you're going to be going up against, the different teams that you're going to be playing against in the Big Ten. How much of a
Yeah,
draw was, the conference as opposed to the school, but like, the kind of the history that you're going to be going into, with the Big Ten and, all the great teams that are in that conference as well.
obviously, the Big Ten's an elite conference. Purdue was in the Big Ten; they were in the national championship. So we're from. I don't want to say we're familiar, but like you see it from afar. Obviously, we're in the Mountain West, so we have to worry about our conference. But you see all the elite teams in the Big Ten from afar, and especially all the teams that are joining it, and it's exciting. Like you're gonna be playing like against high level competition in conference play night in and night out, and it's just another opportunity to show what you can do. And it's an opportunity to get better each game. You're gonna see really good teams, and you test what you do against them. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and it seems each stop that you've made, you've had this progression in your how you play, the things that you're adding into your game. Obviously, Bradford Dragons, huge part. When COVID happened, you were able to go there. We saw what you were able to
Yeah,
do there. And then you step into Montana State, and it just feels like a great fit for you. How important have these stops been in terms of, your overall development to get to your ultimate goals? What has it been, you know, in these environments that have helped you thrive?
obviously, I still have a long ways to go. Like I'm not where I want to be for my final destination, but each stop that I've been at, each stop that I've been at has played like a big part of me being in the position I'm in right now. Like I wouldn't be here without Bradford Dragons. I wouldn't be here without Myerscough. I wouldn't be here without Montana State. I wouldn't be here without Utah State. And all them spots, like they embraced me. Montana State was amazing. Like they took me in as a freshman, gave me the opportunity to play and win championships there. Utah State took me in for 1 year, showed me a lot of love. And obviously, I grew up playing for Bradford Dragons. I grew up in the ranks. So when I had the opportunity to go play for the men's, that was big time.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to think of some of the names that have played for Bradford, for the Dragons. Who growing up, were some of your inspirations, coming out of that academy, that that kind of the junior setup, because a lot of the guys that you played with were probably there, as you were a junior.
Yeah, so obviously when I first got there, Martin was still there. Martin was dominating England at the time. Zion was a Bradford Dragon alum. Isley Swain was a Bradford Dragon alum. But there was a bunch of guys that you saw and they were like cooking and you're like, yeah, like they're really good.
Yeah, and I guess kind of transitioning into, Montana State that first year, great production, second year, you're sixth man of the year. Once
Yeah.
you kind of start to see the process work of, okay, here's what I have to do to, step into that next level. Is it similar to Myerscough those first couple of years? I was talking to Troy the other day, and he was talking about like that first stage that you came out in the EYBL and you're the 12th man off the bench, but you had to kind of wait for your time to step into a larger role. How has, Myerscough kind of helped give you that foundation to be like, okay, if I put in the work, I'll be able to get these opportunities, and when I get these opportunities, I'll be able to show who I am.
Obviously, I've always been like a really confident player, but Myerscough put me in a situation where I was like the youngest player on the first team, and I wouldn't want to say I'm prideful or anything. So I was fine just learning from the guys, but I knew like as soon as I get my chance, I need to give it my all. But Troy was right. Like that first stage, I was 12th man off the bench. I think I was 16 at the time, with a bunch of 19, 20-year-olds on the team. Like I was just learning. But then that second stage, I started. I think I had 18 or something like that first game, and I was like maybe to a lot of people it was a surprise, but the amount of work that I've put in with my people, with my family, with my coaching staffs all over my career, like for me, it wasn't really too much of a surprise. I'm just grateful for God and He gives me an opportunity to show what I can do.
Yeah, and you're a two-time conference champion. What's that like to, have done it in two different conferences in the mid majors,
Three
which
times.
is three-time, sorry, three-time conference champion. That's right. So,
Yes,
what's it
sir.
like being a three-time conference champion, having been able to do that in two different conferences, and what I think, most college basketball fans will consider to be some of the most difficult conferences to play in the mid majors because every team's so balanced from top to bottom.
Nah, for sure. Like when we won the conference freshman year and my sophomore year, like the Big Sky was no joke. Like the Big Sky had really good players. Like Dalton Connect was playing in the Big Sky when I was in the Big Sky. He's gonna be a top 10 pick this year. Like he's an elite basketball player. Dylan Jones gonna be a first round pick. He was in the Big Sky. Like there was Raekwon Battle. Like name if you go down the names, like there's really good players that played in the Big Sky. Jabril Battle, Xavier Bishop, Darius Brown, like all over the Big Sky, there was high level talent. So like people take it for granted. They're like, oh, that's Big Sky. But if you don't go in and game out and show what you can do, like it can it can get quiet. Like it's tough. And then obviously, like the Mountain West speaks for itself. Like one point, people don't even talk about the Mountain West as a mid major, because it's that good. Like we sent 6 teams to the NCAA tournament this past year, which was ridiculous. Like a lot of Power Fives didn't do that. So the level of competition that we played in the Mountain West this year was really high. And I'm just blessed to have been able to play against that type of competition.
Yeah, and you got to think, I pretty much, the great thing about the Big Sky or the Mountain West is I was able to watch pretty much every game, which was great to see your development, see your progression, and just kind of see you go out there and ball out.
Yeah.
It was awesome to see. What's it like playing in especially playing for the herd in front of the herd? That's it speaks for itself. Kind of that environment. To now being moving into even higher level environments. Is it just crazy to be able to play in front of these, crowds and to, have this collegiate experience?
No, absolutely. Like if you ever get the opportunity to go watch a game in the Spectrum, you need to take it. Like the herd is amazing. They show up for every game. Like especially when we played like a Division 2 or an exhibition game, like they're gonna show up. And that was like I was like, wow, these people they love it. Like, and it's really a blessing. I'm just really grateful I got the opportunity to play for them at least for a whole year. And like I think it prepares you for all these other big environments like in the Mountain West, like the Pit or whatever, or San Diego State and Viejas. And especially now, I'm going to a different school. There's going to be different crazy environments like that in the Big Ten. So having played in like the Spectrum, I kind of know what to expect, I think, but we'll see when I get there.
Yeah, and your relationship with Coach Sprinkle, obviously this will be the second time that you follow Coach Sprinkle to, his
Hmm.
next destination. What was it like, first off being recruited by him to Montana State? What were those kind of like initial, relationship buildings that you had with him? And how has that really sort of, grown and gotten even stronger as the years have gone on?
Obviously, first I want to give a big shout out to Coach Chris Haslam. Like he's amazing. Like he came to England and watched me play when I was junior, and he believed in me and went to Sprinkle and was like, "Hey, Coach Sprinkle, I think this Great Osobor kid is going to be pretty good," and I turned out decently, I think. So like, just that belief in me was a lot, and obviously it takes Coach Has going to Coach Sprinkle and then Coach Sprinkle believing Coach Has and believing in my game to give me an offer. Like they told me, like if you come to Montana State and you do what you need to do, like you can come in and play as a freshman. And at the time, I didn't know much about college basketball in it, but like I was like, freshmen don't play a lot. So if I can go and have the opportunity to play, I'm gonna take it. And I played as a freshman. We won a championship, and I used that to learn, and just that belief. When I went to Coach Sprinkle my sophomore year, I was like, I want to keep improving, and they showed me a pathway how I can get better. And then that second year, I won Six-Man of the Year, thanks to God, like you just showed like if you believe in people that believe in you and you work hard, it's all gonna pay off. Then obviously when Coach Sprinkle came to Utah State, it was kind of a no brainer, Like I followed Utah State. He showed me the pathway of what he believed I could do, and now for my final year of college basketball, Coach Sprinkle, he's like you've been with me 3 years, you've got better every year. I trust you. I hope that by this time you trust me that I can get the best out of you and expand your game, show more of what you do, your versatility, and put you in the positions to get to where you want to get to. And I was like, yeah, like it makes sense to at least trust in someone who's trusted in me from the beginning. As I said before, I had 2 offers out of high school, and they seen what I could do, like my potential. So I wanted to repay that.
Absolutely. And you have to think, what are the things that, you're going to be working on, and hopefully, in your senior year, you're going to really be, penning down as the things that you want to improve to continue to showcase not only the belief that, Sprinkle's given you, but also the belief that, you have in yourself that, that there's another level that your game's going to be able to go to. Cause I think everyone can see that as well, that, we're only seeing a fraction of what Great Osobor can be.
Now, for sure, I feel like obviously my bread and butter is getting inside buckets, and you can't go away from what your bread and butter is because then that you go away from who you are as a player. But like, there's a lot more that I still feel like I can show. I want to show my versatility. Like, I feel like I'm a really good passer. So if you put me in like DHO actions where I'm going downhill and then I have to make decisions, like I finish at the rim, I spray a backside, I can throw a lob, like making decisions, and then obviously expanding my shooting range. I'm gonna work really hard. I've been working already on my shot this summer, and I'm gonna keep working really hard to put myself in a position to at least I want to be able to make shots. I want to be able to have that part of my game be shown for my last year of college.
Yeah, and we can obviously see like the talent, and we know your ability on court, but where does that love of basketball come from for you? You've been playing it for quite a while now, and you've gotten really good at it. So where does that love of basketball come from for you, and how did that develop?
Um, you know, um, I've been playing basketball since I was 3, and that was one of the things that kept me going, like in all my transitions. When I moved from Spain to England, I played basketball. That helped me make friends, helped me like be comfortable, get assimilated. Or when I went to America for the first time, that helped me get comfortable. And basketball has just been a way for me to be at peace. Obviously, God's been helping me in this journey, and basketball is another pathway for me to show what I can do. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity that has brought me so far.
Yeah, and just stepping back, to Chris Haslam, obviously he's a huge fixture in British basketball as it goes. What's he meant
Yeah.
for British basketball? Obviously, like Jabril Bello, he had a couple guys at Montana State that were British as well. So to have, someone in America that has that footprint, and is able to then vouch for guys like yourself that, British talent from Spain is good talent. How important is that to have someone like him, fighting and leading that charge for British basketball?
I think it's really important, I feel like someone needs to believe in the people that are coming out of the UK or overseas. When you have someone that's recognized as Coach has, like it helps a lot because people don't want to take chances a lot on overseas basketball players. So you need someone to give you the opportunity to show what you can do, and then it's up to you as a player to like, yeah, I'm gonna go and show that.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of moving into Sprinkle, what kind of a coach is he, and what kind of a player are you in terms of how you like to be coached? And is he someone that fit that kind of role, or did you kind of have to adapt to him a little bit in terms of how he coached? What kind of a player are you, and how are you receptive to coaching?
Obviously, I played for a bunch of different coaches before I got to college. I played for Pavel in Bradford. He was really intense. I played for Coach Mellor. He was more laid back. Then obviously Troy's a bit more energetic, and then Neil's more laid back. So I played for a little bunch of different coaches, and then when I got to Montana State, like Coach Sprinkle, he's intense. Like he really cares about this basketball stuff. Like he wants to win, and I feel like I relate to that because I'm really competitive and I want to win too. So I don't take anything in a bad way because I can see where he's coming from, and like the intensity to want to win and that at the forefront of your program, especially by not sacrificing like character. Like he wants to win with good guys. So that really related to me because I really want to win and I like being surrounded by good people. So it was just a good match. And I feel like he gets the best out of me. Like I don't know, he can coach me. He knows how to coach me, and it's been it's been working out for me so far. He has a good relationship with my parents, and we've been we've been through it. So why not go with Spring one more time?
And you mentioned your parents. It was interesting to see a lot of Americans like on social media when they were talking about, okay, so Amari's done his visits. Oh, his family's been with him the entire time. Great's on his visits. Do you think his parents with him? Talk to me about your family and how important family is for particularly overseas players. When it comes to making like really big decisions. Obviously, your parents are hugely important in your life. So for you, how important was it to have them there on these visits and to have them have a good relationship with your destinations that you're going to be ending up at?
It was really important. Obviously, my parents flew out here and they got to be on all the visits, and like my parents were like, yeah, we're confused because like people think this decision was easy, but it wasn't easy. Like after every visit, I was like, yeah, I want to go to this school, like and it was tough. It was tough making a decision because there was really good schools that were recruiting me that I really really liked, and I really liked the staff and the school. But ultimately, after prayers and talks with my family and constant communication with them and the people really close to me, we felt like it was the best for my future to go to University of Washington.
Yeah, and you talk about the people close to you. How important is it as you've gotten, and had more success on court and had more success off court? How important has it been able, for you to keep those people close and to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people as you continue to progress in your career? Because obviously, you're right now it's unbelievable your trajectory. So for you to continue to have that path, you want to have those right people. What's it like having those people close to you, and just making sure that you're leaning on that right advice?
Now, I think it's really important. You need to have a good foundation. I feel like my foundation is based in Christ, and then obviously I'm really close to my family, and I would say I have a small circle, like my family and my really close friends who a lot of them I made at Myerscough. They know who they are. But like, if you keep your circle close, this takes a lot of the outside noise out of it. I try not to get too involved with all of that, you know. That way I'm just listening to the people who really matter to me in my life.
Yeah, and going back to Myerscough, you can mention a few of them, mention as many as you want, because hopefully they'll be tuning in. Because everyone is so proud of the success that you've had coming from, from England, not just, at the academy. But, who are some of the guys at the academy that really you kind of leaned on when you were there to help your growth and just help you settle in? And how have you been able to continue those relationships since, leaving Myerscough?
Obviously, the people in my class, I had Brian, Zeki, Kalen, Ruben. I was really close with all of them. Frank, I'm really close with. Amari, I talk to pretty consistently. Kalen, all them guys, like, there's just guys that I resonated with, like, even guys that I haven't spoke to in a while, like Emeka, Bankole, like, and then guys obviously older than me, like Bradley, Josh Cyrus, Shaden, like all them guys, like I feel really, really close to, and they were all part of my journey and still part of my journey till this day. So like just to have the ability to still have a conversation with them when I want to see how things are going, but they're hitting me up and be like, keep going, like that means a lot.
Yeah, oh, 100%. And, what is it about the Myerscough setup that I think worked or that you think worked for you in terms of, your game? Because obviously everyone's going to Myerscough trying to get better. Everyone has a goal
Yeah.
when they go to Myerscough. But for you, what was it about that setup that you feel was very helpful as a platform for your game to get you where you wanted to be?
Obviously, if you go to my school, you're gonna compete, and that's the best thing for your basketball development. Like you can't go somewhere where you're complacent. And me going to my school was one of the best decisions I made in my life. Like he helped me put me in a platform where I was competing against the best players in the country. And then if you're competing against the best players in the country day in, day out, and the games come in, you can really show what you can do. And it just puts you in an exposure platform where we have a lot of alumni who are playing overseas, and I don't know what the goal of a lot of basketball players in the UK are, but if it's to come to America, I personally think my school is the place to go. Now, if you're not going to my school for the views, or you're not going to my school for the for the nightlife for nothing, you go to my school. You're going to my school to lock in with basketball and get better.
Yeah. What are similarities that you've noticed in coaching style from, the coaches that you had at Myerscough to, coaches that you've now had, with Coach Sprinkle, Coach Has, some of the staff that you've come across since, what are some of the similarities and maybe some of the differences?
I mean, obviously, Coach Haas, Coach Mike, both of them really good big man coach, and then Coach Sprinkle's energetic. He's passionate about what he does, and in a way, Neil's really passionate about what he does too. So just being around people who care about you as a person, as a player, and want to win, it just takes you to the next step, I think.
Yeah, and preparation wise, you mentioned like the games. Obviously, it was a D2. You had the EABL, you had EYBL. Me and Troy were just talking the other day. I think like the Latvian Estonian League just put out a bunch of 10 players under 23 to watch, and everyone that was
Hmm.
on that list had played in the EYBL at some point. We played against a
Yeah.
couple, Kristaps Kilps, a couple guys on that list. What is it about game preparation that Myerscough gives players the ability to have success when they go to America?
I mean, the thing is, you play so many different types of level of basketball. So you play in Europe, or you play in the UK, and you play in Division 2 basketball. And then there's obviously the ABL. Like there's so much basketball going on where you can't be comfortable in just one type of playing. You're gonna push yourself, and then you're gonna have the games where you can work on what you want to work on. And that's what really prepares you. Like when I came to America, it wasn't easy. It was a hard transition. But I feel like my school prepared me in a sense, because it was like, okay, this is not my first time going somewhere where I'm the youngest guy and I have to play against older people.
Yeah. What were some of those difficult transitions that you had kind of settling into America? Um, Playing wise, obviously you're going out to Montana. It's very
Yeah,
similar in terms of you're not really going there for the nightlife, or you're not going there for, I mean, you'll go over there for the views because the views are incredible. Both campuses that you've been to, and obviously Seattle's going to be another great place in
yeah.
terms of views. But what were some of the challenges that you had when you first landed, in Bozeman?
Nah, don't sleep on Bozeman now. Bozeman can be a fun time. Bozeman can be a fun time. Nah, Bozeman was cool. Um, I was in Bozeman. The views were really nice. I mean, the biggest challenge was going against Jabril Bello every day. So that year, that freshman year, he ended up being the Big Sky MVP and the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year. So you can imagine what it's like as a true freshman going into practice every single day. And my matchup is the Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. You know, like it wasn't easy. I was working, but I felt like that helped me in the games. When the games came by, I was like, hold on, I'm good. You know, like I can play.
Yeah.
So like that helps me out a lot. And then, after then that freshman year, I knew what to expect, and me and Jabril now played a lot together because Coach Spring had to try to find ways to get us both out there, and it was really good. And I took stuff from Jabril, and I'm a different player, but I took stuff from what he does and added it to my game, and obviously I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Do you feel like you are now that player, like the Jabril Bello player that is helping freshmen, helping sophomores, some of the underclassmen kind of adjust to the game or show them what it's going to take to, have the success that you're having?
I mean, I'd like to think so. I don't know. One of my freshmen, Carson Templer, he's the one that I kind of took under my wing this year. Like he's open to listening and he's trying to compete. One of my sophomores, Nigel Burris, we went out there a lot this year. Like we were competing. And I feel like I'd like to think that I helped him in the development because further down the line, when they're successful college basketball players, like like Nigel was freshman of the year in the Big Sky, and then this past year he was going to work and practice every day. So like really believe that they're all going to be really successful, and I hope that I'm part of their journey.
Yeah, and I got to bring it back because I had Dan on in Wazoo a couple weeks ago, and he
Yeah.
actually mentioned you when he was on his visit. You were dunking on him, in the workouts. So do you remember any of that? And you are like I can safely say that you are that kind of a player that players do look
Yeah.
at in terms of they will feed off and learn from you. Do you remember anything from that visit where you were dunking on him? Because he's now dunking hopefully on other people. It seems like he is.
Now I remember Dan came on his visit, and then Neil was like don't overdo it, but give him a little taste. Like he was like, don't overdo it, but like let him know. So we was playing, and then Dan's really good. So at first, I was just chilling, and then I think he got a bucket or something, and the score was a little bit too tight, so I just had to turn it up a little bit, and then did what I did.
That's so funny. But it's
Yeah.
the parallels that you see between, like you say, you need someone that is a little bit that senior or that junior senior that has had that experience to kind of show the way. And you certainly are stepping into that. What's it been like now being an upperclassman out on the floor? Because you're hopefully going out there to dominate out there. And we've seen that, what has it been in your game, especially in this last year that you noticed maybe clicked for you, and gave you that, sort of elevation to then become, a player of the year, first team all conference kind of guy?
I mean, first of all, I had a really good team. Like, I can't take that for granted. My team was amazing. My point guard I think, was the best point guard in the country, in the conference, one of the best point guards in the country. Like, when you play with really good players, it makes your job easy. I knew every day what was expected out of me. And obviously, some days you fall short of what's expected out of you in it. But I felt like most days than not, I did what the team needed me to do. And thanks to God, they put me in a position to be selected as what's up Myerscough Player of the Year. So that's really all because of my team and what the coaching staff did for me.
Yeah. And how have you managed some of these expectations? Because obviously night in, night out when you watch, you're getting double teamed, you're getting triple teamed in the block. So for you to, showcase maybe some of the other talents that you have, what's it like being able to maybe manage some of the expectations and realize that, you got, like you say, you have a great team around you. So how can I rely on them if I'm, under, serious defensive pressure?
I mean, it's hard. Obviously, there's pressure every game. You're expected to do what you do, but I try not let it get to me. Coach Has will always be like, just play hard, and Coach Spring just be like, go out there and have fun. So I always try and remember them to do things. I'm gonna have fun regardless, and I want my teammates to have fun playing the game. And I feel like when you play hard and your whole team's having fun, good things tend to happen.
Yeah. And what continues now to motivate you? Obviously, you've become, a player of the year. You've been a sixth man of the year. You've been all conference first team.
Yeah.
All these you've been an All-American, honorable mention. What are the things that now motivate you going into Washington? With a new challenge, obviously.
I mean, it's the Big Ten, so obviously like, it's a matter of I want to prove it to myself that I can play there. Um, like I feel like now I wanna keep getting better as a basketball player. I feel like there's still a lot that I need to show that of what I do because I know I can show it. I just want to now put it in action. And by the grace of God, if I show everything that I know I can show, it's going to put me in a good position for this time next year to be where I want to be.
Yeah, and kind of staying with Washington, when you went on your visit, what was it? Obviously, the coaching staff, but what was it
Yeah.
about Washington that stood out to you, and really made kind of that decision for you easier to say, okay, I'm following Sprinkle to Washington. This is the right fit for me.
Obviously, the staff we've already spoke about that, but like just the history of like Seattle is a basketball rich place. Like obviously you have the crossover, you have Jamal Crawford, you have Brandon Roy, Isaiah Thomas. They're all over there. They're like all practicing and stuff. Like coach was telling me, Marquise Chris is always in the gym, just working out in the morning and lifting, and like just the ability to be surrounded by that basketball rich culture. As you know, I think when I'm surrounded by elite players, I tend to like step my game up, and I wanted to be put in that situation. Obviously it was hard because all the other schools were really elite too, and it was tough. It really came down to that last day, just making that decision and sticking to it.
Yeah. How difficult of a decision was it for you? Because obviously, your relationship with Coach Sprinkle, the schools that you visited have, a lot of pedigree to them, whether
Yeah,
it's Kentucky, Louisville, Texas Tech. How difficult of a decision was it for you, just with regards to everything that you'd been through, over the past, 2 weeks?
it was super difficult because all the schools were really good. I liked all the coaching staffs, all the people there. Obviously, even Utah State, I was like, well, maybe I'll go back to Utah State. And that was always in the back of my mind. But it's like there was just a lot going on. And I just had to take my time and talk to my parents and stay in prayer and just be like, okay, this is what I need to do and stick to it because you don't want to have doubts. Because what's it called? I was told by someone close to me during the process, like, you have life decisions in life. Like there's 2, 3, 4 life decisions in life that can determine the path of your life. And I feel like this was one of them. Like I had to make this decision for my future, and we'll see how it pans out.
I mean, I think it's going to pan out great for you. Not to, stick on the pun, right?
Yeah.
But before I get you out of here, just a couple quick ones. When you
Yeah.
look back at some of your Myerscough days, you would have participated in those one-on-ones, king of the court. Who are the guys that were really getting after it?
Obviously, one on one, I like my chances against anyone. So I'm not even gonna speak on what I was doing, but like some really good one on one basketball players that were at Myerscough at the time. Bradley was elite. Sam Akano was really good. Frank is a tank. Brian Akam was a very underrated one on one. Like I ain't gonna lie, if you play Brian one on one, you need to be on your A game. He's gonna cook you. So all them guys really.
Yeah. And just to get you out of here, your final message to, the coach and staff at Myerscough. Obviously they put in the time to, give you a place to develop, that platform.
Yeah.
What do you kind of say, at this juncture of your career, what do you have to say to the guys back at Myerscough?
No, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Obviously, you guys put me in a position to where I was successful, and then I could obviously get a scholarship to play in America. Like Neil, Mike, Troy, Lewis, all of them, they put me in situations for me to be successful. So I'm grateful, and hopefully you keep holding that standard for all the next generation of Myerscough players, so there can be more people that get the opportunities that I got.
Well, great. It is always a pleasure to chat and catch up. And,
No.
I'm coming out there. I'm coming out to Washington. And I'm bringing Neil.
You have to. You do it. Like, you guys have a good time. I'll show you guys. I mean, I was going to say I'll show you guys around, but I'm going to be learning about this sport too, so we'll all learn.
We'll all learn together. Yeah, we're coming out.
Yeah. All right, for sure.
All right, great. I do appreciate it. And
thanks for having me. Appreciate it.